Are we on?
We are on. We are on.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Lagos. Good afternoon, Nigeria. Good afternoon, the world. Welcome to the 4 at 5. As usual, I have with me the most beautiful, hardworking, focused, and audacious young lady. Bumi, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Nice to be here once again.
And I have Gozie, who you can see that just came out from the barber.
Hello, good afternoon.
Everybody. And Regina is said she is on the way. She's on the traffic. She's just coming back from work. And so whenever she comes in, she will join us. I'm sure she will join us in a gypsy, as they always say. Today, we are looking at widows and religion. And we're going to start, first of all, to identify the religions we have, because we are first starting with our own culture, Nigeria. And because what are the religions we have in our country today? What are the main religions?
We have the Christian religion, we have Islamic, we have those that don't go to anyone, the atheists.
Yes, they call African religion.
We have the traditional worshippers as well, and they are still in existence.
Yeah, they're still in existence because, you know, I according to what I found out, the main classes they put in Nigerian religion is 3: the Christian, Muslim, and African religion. That's how they put it together.
Yeah.
So, and today, we are starting with one of the topics that people don't want to talk. You know, the problem, I always say, in this culture, in this our culture, you know, we have a problem of, most of us have a problem of addressing things constructively when they put religion inside it. Because we feel as we are insulting God, but the reality is that we are not insulting God. We are talking of Christianity, our practice as human beings here, working on the Bible. What, for example, as the Christian or the Muslim, their Quran. Nobody, whenever any discussion is being made. So I want you to have it in mind, our listeners. This discussion is not made to God. It is not made about God. It is made about all the people in this world, about our practice. Because the reality in everything, part of the practice is how to make our life better. And Bumi, I'm going to start with you because I'm going to play out this scenario. I went to do a talk one day in a women conference, and they invited me as a widow to talk. I was there. A couple of people spoke, finished their talk, and eventually they called me and put me up, and they said she's a widow, and this one and that one widow presenter. As I was standing there using my microphone to start to talk, and they said to me, "Excuse me, that they want to make an announcement." And the announcement was that somebody here has donated bags of rice for the widows. And I felt very insulted. You know, they did not, there was no basis for bringing in that thing, if not to insult the already, you know, what they have built up in mind. And I made it very clear that this is where I'm going to start my talk. You do not, the Bible says, let your right hand not see what your left hand is giving. It's a Bible. Church, so I'm going to start with you. What do you have to say? Church is a micro society. And I keep saying it. Church can develop a system to empower widows to do work. Widows that are the widows in their church and they are hardworking. If they like to give them gifts, I don't have any problem with that. Christmas, if you want, that is fine. But this idea of church, when people are talking of empowerment of widows and they join the clique to empower, sharing rice and sharing beans, what do you have to say about it?
As you are talking, I was busy smiling and laughing, and I can see Gozie too laughing over there. But do you know the funniest thing? This thing you just said is ridiculous. To me, it's ridiculous because sometimes I get offended in my spirit when I see all these things going in the church. For me, a bag of rice, sharing it for 20 people is not empowerment. It's not an empowerment. And sometimes this thing they are doing to us, to the widows, is making people outside to feel that widows are beggars. Because to me, it's like we are beggars when you are giving one small rice, small spaghetti, small onion, small this to people. It's what you give to people who are begging. So as a church, this is people who are, yes, into your account with offering, with tithes, and the person lost they lost somebody. And you think the best thing you can do for them is to call them one that says somebody is donating a bag of rice and start sharing rice. Why can't you take some money out of that place and empower them with a business? Empower them with training. They have this money. The church has this money and they can do it.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Gozie, I don't know if anybody can get into my brain and look at it. Is it impossible for a church to have a microfinance? How do they put it? Interest free or interest 0.0000 as against this? Because I believe that church is already, it's easy to know who are your members. And it's easy for you to identify the hardworking ones that you can empower. Is it possible, or is it? Do you think that it is not a doable thing for a church as against this often joining the outside world to get into a more serious microfinance business for empowering women, widows in their system?
Now, the church, back home, when you address issues like this, you see them stick out their heads to tell you, touch not my anointed. Now, I want to lay a background because we are all anointed. The church, we are not talking about the pastors. Even if we talk about them, it's okay. We are not talking about the leadership. We are talking about the church, the body of Christ, the members, the laity, the clergy, everybody. Now, we're also talking about the widows themselves. The church can set up a sustainable method of supporting widows. This idea of every Christmas, they give them one painter of rice and give them meat and give them food items, give them wrappers. Some of them don't even have money to make those clothes. And some of the churches call it empowerment. It's not empowerment. I have been to some churches also who support their widows, who have structured and sustainable plans to support those that run businesses. They have a widow support group, and those widows apply through those groups to get zero interest loans to fund their business. Some of them even have their businesses funded outrightly. It's important, and it's possible because a lot of churches are rich. It's possible to get that done. But the question is, what is the focus of the church? This idea of sharing rice to these women, they cook their rice for a couple of times and it finishes. That equates to the Chinese giving of fish. Why don't we replan and re-strategize and teach them to fish? That way they can also support the church rather than always giving them fish. Yeah.
I'm going to hold you there because, we are looking at redefining widowhood, because the idea is this. From personal experience, I know that this is what subconsciously has affected our mental health. Bumi, you're there. Our mental presentation of widows. You see, just imagine that program where I came out working, as the speaker. Someone, and immediately they pause to bring me down again. It wasn't the discussion there. It was a women conference. So they wanted us, it was a question of bringing everybody together under one umbrella. But immediately they used that to bring it out again. What do you agree with me, that this attitude subconsciously drops into the mental culture of the widows and the society themselves?
Like, based on our setting in Africa, back home in Nigeria, there's something that they don't think is mental health. They think only the mad people on the road are mad. And that is what they attribute to mental health. Somebody that is mad on the road, walking nakedly, or somebody that is committing suicide. That's the thing they thought relates to mental health. But mental health is more than that. When you bring the esteem of a person down, you downgrade somebody, you are affecting the mental health of the person. And for you, somebody like that day, you are already there as a widow with all your good looking clothes, with your microphone, and somebody just say, somebody donated a bag of rice for widows. Come on. It will bring down your esteem. And when your esteem is down, your morale is down, then you start feeling bad about yourself. Then you start accusing God. God, why did you make me a widow? Then you start thinking about all those people that are supposed to help you that are not helping you. Gradually, depression is setting in. And when depression sets in, then other things start happening. The best way to help people that are widows, if you want, in the area of mental health, is the support. The support network is what they need. The support network is not food. We need to understand this. Food, cloth items are not support network. Support network is somebody that can hold your hand, can stand by you. When you reach the case of court case, they are there. When you reach the place to have a loss, they are there. The support network that widows need from the church is more than giving of rice and wrappers. I'm bringing out their self-esteem. I'm making them to look like beggars, as if something is wrong with them. But by the time you have a widow in your church, because I keep telling people, I'm a widow, I've never left my church. Nobody has ever downgraded me. If they need to contribute money in the church, they will come to me. If everybody is contributing, automatically, nobody is going to say because she's a widow, she doesn't need to contribute. No. You contribute based on my capacity. And if at that time I don't have enough to contribute, I let them know. And my pastor is there for me. Even as I'm telling you, if I don't have food in the house to eat, I can call my pastor. My pastor will not send a bowl of rice to me, or send spaghetti, or send vegetable oil. Instead, it's my account that money will go into.
That he will send money to. Okay? Your pastor will not, he said her pastor will not send, because the reality is this, you know, I remember all my years of this journey, you know, I had my, every time I have my that up and down. I remember one of the time I needed a school fees for my children. They were to go back to school, and in the school, they go to mission school. You have to pay before you come. I just did a contract. I was waiting for payment, and I didn't want to go and beg anything. For the first time, in fact, that's when I'm talking, I went to ask for the welfare of the church, and they told me who is in charge, and I went and met them. In fact, when I met the man, I remember when I met the reverend in charge. When he saw me and heard I'm a widow, he couldn't put the two of the story together, because like every day I walk into the church, do what I have to do, and walk out. So because they're looking from that, you know, because the reality is this, you must, I mean, me and you know the story. I saw the one you posted. There are widows that have put themselves in a charity case. So you can know whether, in fact, some will tell you that they want to commit suicide. In fact, if you see the message one sent to me, and when I now reminded, he was sending this message, not knowing that Hope, one person, Amana Hope, and the widow's window are the same person managing the account. So by the time we did all the connection, and I reminded in this one, he now said to me that I just lost a soul, that he kept, this is after giving her money, and she came to the other place to ask for another money. And she said, so but using that as a point of contact, as an example, sorry, because we're talking about welfare, I still maintain that the best welfare the church will get, if I were to be a leader of the church, is to open a finance bank. Gozia, I know me and you have been into this empowerment and you have done a lot of it. Do you agree to that?
I don't want a church opening a microfinance bank because of widows.
Well, sorry, let me put it in another way. Not a microfinance as a microfinance,
okay.
you know.
A microfinance scheme. Yeah.
A corporate, a welfare scheme where they give loans inside of that. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Welfare scheme.
But there's a mindset that is becoming worrisome. Widows are not lily livered chickens. So it's time for them to stop entering churches and demanding special treatment. You understand what I say? You said something that I'm going to write on. You know, I like to write. Making themselves charity cases. You don't make yourself a charity case. Assuming a church has a finance scheme for the poor, and if you are poor and widowed, you can go. And if you are poor, there are married people that are poorer than some widows. There are single moms that are in more need than widows. But once you mention poverty, everybody will have the face of a widow. And let me be honest with you, the widows made it that way, and we must change it. We must change it. Look at us. Look at the glow on our faces. How can anybody come and call us poor and come and be offering us $100? So the church can set up, I agree with you, they should set up a finance scheme. This church is bound. In short, I was researching before this program. I was researching to see what the Bible says about giving and the role of the church to the poor. It shouldn't be one-way traffic. Offering, tithe, seed, sow. It has to also go two ways. So it's important that they have it, because even organizations, Healing Hearts, we have a finance scheme to give widows loan without interest, not to talk of church. Our churches are. So it's important that they have it. But what I will have issues with is a situation where the widows now become so needy and dependent that a church will only talk about poverty and connect widows to it. There are husbands and wives that are hungry in this COVID time. Not only widows.
Yeah, I like that thing you said, so that poverty should not be connected to widowhood.
Yes, and that's what they have done.
But I'm going to tweet that later. Poverty should not be connected with widowhood, because the reality is this. But I'm going to put my words in one word before I now go to another discussion that has to do with widowhood and the religion. Because I know we were waiting for, I was thinking that when Reggie comes, because Reggie has the opportunity of coming from the two culture for the culture that has the two religions. But I'm going to add when I mean church is a welfare scheme. I am one of the person that believes that if you're a widow, you know, I saw a widow came to me and he said, I'm going to use my language before. He said, Nandi bedi achori nyeri aka. And I said to her, Inwele aka na abo. Nwanne digi nwa aka na abo. Onye go fu aka from his own. Or you onwezie one, give one three. What translated, what I said to her was that you have two hands. Your brother-in-law has two hands. So which other hands are you asking the person to give you? If he gives you one of the hands, you will have three, and he will have two. Meaning, either way you translate it, the two hands he's using to make whatever he's making is the two hands you have. Go and make your own. When we talk about church and widowhood empowerment, what we are pleading, and each and every one of us keep putting inside our church is, please, church. Even the Bible made it very clear. It's widow from 60. They're supposed to be retired. You know, there are 3 classes of widow in the Bible. The 60 that are getting weak. Yeah, you wanted to say something. So
I want to say something. You know, I have an issue with that. You know why I have an issue with that? Because those days of the Bible are not the days now. Widows that are sick, when I turn 60, I'll be flying from Chisom's house to Chukwemeka's house and be collecting rent anyhow. But today, widows in their 30s, they have young children. So the reverse has become the case. Widows in their 60s up, some of them fund us. But you see all these 20-something-year-old, 30-something-year-old with young children, they need help. And some churches now Some churches now hide behind what Paul said and say, God said those from 60. And you find young widows. And they tell them, buy uniform, buy this uniform, buy this guild. I don't want to call anything, so that they will not say I called any church. They will ask them, buy this, buy that. But children in elementary school, in high school, they need help. But let me say something before you move on. When we talk about the empowerment of widows, my sisters, we must not forget mental empowerment. Sister Bumi, that's your field, and you said it earlier. Let the churches have support groups that will have professionals like Sister Bumi, who will attend these meetings once in a while and talk to the widows about their mental state. Most of the widows that I have supported, I didn't give them money. One of them wrote on my wall this morning that after I spoke to her, that she changed. Most times they need to know that your in-laws don't owe you. Because me, I'm very blunt and brutal. I will say to you, your in-law does not owe you. Nobody owes you. We need to begin to reset their brains, not just the money. I'm not no business. There's no business you can start with 5,000.
Exactly. I'm going to hold you there because that's the reality, and that's part of the thing.
Oh, what is wrong with that?
Bring it in here.
I'm going
the
to
reality is it is so bad. How I went into this ministry is people calling me. They say, "Oh, come, there's somebody just lost the husband. Let's go." Once they see you, they can relate to it. So, Bumi, I'm going to pick you from that because Jose makes a good point. Mental health, because empowerment is we are looking about the physical empowerment and the emotional empowerment. So before we get into the other side of emotional, let's look at the mental health. And when looking at the mental health, and I'm going to bring it into you. What are the laudable programs you have had? When I mean laudable, forget about the whispering that they are bringing widows together to share rice. I see couples night, they go to dinner, they go to party. I see single, do you understand what I'm saying? And you come to this church, it is where we're using church is because fortunately, or we are all Christian. We can't talk about the field we're not. If when Reggie comes, she can help us using her small knowledge from where she grew up to bring in some Muslim discussion into it. So what are is it enough to just every day? Because what I find, quite sometimes unbalancing is that the only program they have for widows is pray. I had to ask one of the pastors one day when I went to a function again, and at my age, they now brought one young boy. Part of the thing, we widows too, because this woman made that she did program for widows, and we came back. He brought one small, with all due respect, God, again to come and say the same prayer. And I was like, who told you people that this is just where human being are three sections, spiritual and body? What are the other? Isn't there other functions that they can create to make these widows come together themselves and have? Bring me over to you. What do you know? What effect is that to them?
Like you've already pointed it out. All these programs that they're having in the churches. If you're having couples nights for marriage, there are other programs you can have also that will support the mental state of a widow. They have already know they've lost their husband. They know there is prayer. Because let me tell you something. When I first lost my husband, despite the way I was active in church, for complete 3 months, I was unable to go to church. Yeah. I was active. I hold a post in church. Get it. The first week, second week after my husband died, after the funeral, I was insisting I need to go back to church. Let me do everything and go back to church. But after the first 2 weeks, I never go back. I didn't go back. And the reason that I didn't go back is at that time, my mental state was so low. I understand that I need to pray. I understand that God loves me. But at that time, the feeling of that love that God has for me, I was not feeling it. Because based on the fact that I believe that my husband shouldn't have died, why is it me? What is a common thing I will not think about? Where will my own husband die? So because of that, the prayer was not even having an effect on me. Nothing you talk about that's going to have an effect on me, because I was not even thinking about that. So it's very wrong of the church when you bring widows together to just talk about, let us pray. And another thing that is annoying, let me tell you now, is very, very annoying in the church. It annoys me a lot. And I'm grieved in the spirit concerning this issue. A widow just lost her husband. She's a member of the church. She came back to the church, maybe the first Sunday or second Sunday, and the next prayer you can bring out is pray for your husband. I'm not saying it's wrong to pray for the husband, but you see somebody that is hurting, somebody that is not even balanced, coming for the first time, and the only prayer you can bring about is pray for your husband. Which husband is she going to pray for?
It's not you they are talking to. Excuse me. No, I can't escape you. They are not talking to you. They are talking to the congregation. Unfortunately, you
forget it. There's some things that
they cannot forget it because they are over to you.
No, let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish there. I'm not saying they should not. It's for the congregation, but you need to take confiscate. There's somebody significant in your midst that is hurting. You wait to bring that prayer on, not at that moment when that person does to come back to the church. Come on, let's be realistic. That is why a lot of widows end up not going to church, because they are hurting, and you are putting fire into what is hurting them. You are telling them at that time, let us pray for our husband and wife. You pray for something. Why must you hold your husband's hand and start praying at that time? When you know I'm hurting. Come on, let's stop all this nonsense. You need to look at the surroundings before you do anything.
Anyway, I'm glad. Thank God, Bumi, the mental health specialist. You can see, because we are already dealing with mental health of Bumi, because we have that talking out is another way of healing.
Baby,
I'm coming to you. Let me look at Bumi. They are talking to the congregation, and the one person out of the congregation will not make this discussion end. But having said this, you can see, I'm glad we are speaking this. Everybody that is listening, we are making, like we said, we are trying to redefine widowhood. We are trying to balance our mental health. This thing she says, so many people are carrying it. Remember last 2 weeks discussion, somebody made an example of that. Because I'm going to say it to you, because reality, I saw the way you're laughing, which I know what you're going to do. We cannot stop it. And the one thing I'm going to add, because I don't know how we are going to do it after this corona, we are going to organize a laudable project for widows. You know how they do? I don't care, even if it's what is this big hotel? A laudable. They have not paid us, so we'll not call it a laudable project or outing, whatever I'm trying to find the word for widows. Because the reality is this: in the midst of this, nobody should stop the church. The things has to go on. Isn't there a way too, so that things like this thing we put up, the church can organize? I'm going to ask you, apart from the normal gathering of prayer and sharing rice, have you had any form fair activity in your church or anywhere that has to do with widows? I mean, which they can even now, for them to mix the widowers too. So what do you
anyway, me, myself, I'm activity. So I don't wait for them to do activity. I remember I've hosted 2 Valentine's evening in my house, in my sitting room in Enugu, and we danced. I cooked food and widows ate. But I can't remember, and when I say my church, I'm talking about back home in Nigeria. I can't remember any time. Most times, the widows support groups of some churches, or most of the churches that I'm attached with their widow support group, they come together, they pray, they do Bible study. It mustn't be that. You have to diversify. You have to do other activities. But let me tell you something about what Bumi said. Bumi is only trying to say that the churches should be sensitive to know that there are widows in their midst. If you call prayer for husbands that are alive, also pray for the family of those husbands that are dead.
Thank you.
Let's be sensitive. This sensitivity is too much. You know what I mean? It's too much. And let me tell you what I noticed. What I noticed here, when you belong to widows support groups here, where I am temporarily, they diversify what they do. Back home is fasting and praying, and they put fear. I'm sorry if you are watching. and you are from my church. I'm not talking about my church. I'm talking about what I've seen. They put fear in these widows. Oh, every demon after my children, every witch. Hey, these widows must not be pursuing witch. If you are a widow, dress up. When I come to Enugu, let's go and have picnic at Nike Lake. We can go to Golden Tulip Hotel. We can't continue pursuing demons every day. Oh, every power after my children, fall down and die. They have died for 20 years. Are they still dying? We can't continue this one-sided thing because the mental health of the widow is not balanced. Let me tell you what most widows do. Home, church, work. Home, church, work. They will not even come out on social media to socialize because they will tell them, a widow, what are you doing on social media? So if you're watching this and you're a widow, we want to ask you, what activity do you have? What activity? You yourself, if your church is not designing activity, but because the activity, some churches might say is demonic. Like if you have a Valentine, this thing, is demonic. Some will say you are chasing men. So it's prayer. I'm not saying prayer is bad, but these widows, they even need their children. What about widows' children in the church? Does the church bring these widows' children? If you mingle with widows' children, you will be shocked and worried for our next generation of parents who their fathers died when they were teenagers. A lot of them are angry. I keep saying it. Do we have programs for them? Do we consider them in what we do? Are their fathers matched with the young men? Are there people matched with those children to model fatherhood, especially when they have lost their fathers? Do they have access to those men in the church who we are sure will not violate them sexually? So we have to begin to talk about these things that we've been hiding under the carpet.
Well,
so
I would like
I have a question to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, I'm going to what you said here that I'm going to pick on is, is there a facility for the church to be a father figure for those children? Because
most churches don't have that.
They don't have that. It's an apt discussion you just brought up. Thank you so much. And I'm going to continue with the church and religion. I said it, there's something I found in this Dominic Van de Well. He's one of these World Bank reports, whatever. And he wrote about religion and the widowhood in Nigeria. And he said this: Christian widows also report a higher incidence of cruelty and violence at the hands of in-laws and consistently inferior inheritance outcomes, including insignificantly high rates of depression, more for Muslim widows. True or false?
True.
True. In fact, when I saw it, I don't know how I downloaded it when I noticed it is a big thing. And now, using that as an example, we are going to look at what do you think is the reason you can, based on your personal experience and what you have seen over the year, can you say that make this point? At what let me start so I don't put my own.
Now, our society is a society that asks people to zip. This morning, I made a post on my wall because I've been battling with it for 3 weeks. And I made a post about an encounter with someone, and I really needed to vent. And somebody came there, and I hold it against him. I really hold it against him. He came there to ask me why I should talk about it. Now, the society we live in is a society that, that really won't let you speak out. A lot of these widows, they have been maltreated by in-laws, and they can't talk about it. Because when you mention it, even when you have forgiven the person, but you want to talk about it, maybe to just ventilate, somebody will come out, and mostly a total stranger that really don't know you, will now come out and want to shut you down. So you keep quiet. And because you are talking about it means that you have not forgiven. It's a very faulty reasoning, because we are not venting. Not just widows, a lot of people are angry. A lot of people are not talking about things. Now, most of the widows, the in-laws, they might not even deny you your property, but they might just slander you, and go around town and talk you down. If you are not a strong person, you will go down. Now, who are these widows talking to? We don't have therapists back home. Remember that. We don't have where people go to talk about anybody. We don't have coaches, widow coaches that people can go to talk about anybody. When you go for counseling in the church, Once you make 1 or 2 sentences, they will tell you it is well. It is well is not an answer. It is well is not. At times, allow people. I have people who come to me for counseling and they sit and listen. Counseling is different from coaching and mentorship. They are 3 different things. I have people who come to me for counseling. I will keep my pen and paper and be watching and put my device on record and watch. They might start their story from 1959 and they will talk and cry. I'll keep a box of tissue and allow them to exhale. That exhaling, like this morning, coming out on Facebook to write that story that hurt me as a widow in 2017. And then it hurt me more than somebody that didn't know me except on Facebook came there to question why I should write about it. That because I wrote about it, that it means I have not forgiven. But that was the point. Now, if I was chicken-hearted, next time I will keep quiet. You see why people are getting depressed? Because they are not talking. And people are being taught. Let me tell you, when you make someone lose, when you accuse a widow that she killed her husband, you have destroyed a part of that widow. Now, when that widow goes to somebody or comes to her Facebook wall to narrate it, somebody will sneak out from a place and say, don't talk about it. Forgive is divine, is divine. We have to allow people to vent.
Okay, because I'm going to stop you. You have made it at one point of that discussion because you've made it from the angle of inheritance. Bumi, is there another angle that you can bring in that portrays this discussion of this woman, of his finding in Nigeria?
Yes. Before I need to go to one of the points that Gozie raised. You know, in Dreamful, we are always talking about sharing your story. People might not understand why I always tell them to share their story. I'm just asking them based on my orientation, my profession, because this is what you call talking therapy. Yeah. You don't need a psychologist to do talking therapy. Talking therapy can come through anybody, your friend, Facebook, and make it a talking therapy. So I encourage widows to share their story. So by the time they talk to somebody, then automatically they are healed. Healing comes from talking about an issue. When you keep quiet about an issue, healing will never come. And back home in Africa, because they tell you not to talk about it, I've had different experiences with widows. When anything happens, they're talking about the religion now. For example, something happened between you and you go to your pastor to go and talk about it. The next thing they will say, pray about it. Instead of them to take the initiative, look for a solution to that thing that is causing that widow to be grieved. Maybe it's in-law, maybe it's even friends talking to you. They will tell you, let's pray about it. I see prayer is the only thing that you can do about it, which is, to me, is totally wrong. You need to talk about these things. You need to share it with people. You need to make them to understand what is going on in your mind. Because this is how depression starts. Depression starts when you cannot express yourself. When you can't come out and say, I'm hurting. This is where it's hurting me. This is the problem I'm having. Then gradually, it's from one instant to another instant. Before you know it, you are the person is depressed. And these are the things that we need to start talking about. Your problem doesn't mean you have something wrong with you. It doesn't mean you are still holding it. It doesn't mean you are stuck in the past. You're not stuck in the past. But talking about what has happened to you will make you to be good.
Regina is here. Go, Reggie. Hello, girl.
Yeah. Hi,
Reggie.
Hi, lady. Good to see you.
So all these things, we need to start talking about whatever is happening. Forget that your in-law are against you. Forget that your friends are against you. If I talk about it, they're going to get mad at me. Do you know how many people, even my own family, have gotten mad at me for writing on Facebook? Who cares? I don't give a damn. I don't care. If you dare come to my inbox or give me a call and talk to me, then I'm going to come to that Facebook to come and write it. Now, everybody is keeping quiet. They are even scared to talk about it because they know I will still come out. I will blow it out. And this is how it's supposed to be. Don't think because somebody is hot, you can't talk again. You You need to come out. Because I'm telling you right now, if you are listening to this program, because you are listening to this program, and you dare keep your mouth shut, you want to talk about something, and one person is telling you don't talk about it, and press. Before you know it, your head will go colomenta. Before you know it, you will land in hospital. So come out and talk about whatever is hurting you. Let people understand. Let people know there's something wrong with you.
Okay, I'm going to come in there. I'm going to, before I go to Regina. Regina, we've been talking about religion and you know, our discussion. And we have talked about empowerment, the kind of how the church can empower widows without
I'm having problems.
And the quote says, can you hear me now? Oh.
We can hear you.
It was breaking. It was breaking.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
So then the quote is from one of the World Bank reporter, and she said that Muslims, he said, let me read it exactly how she put it. He said Christian widows also report a high incidence of cruelty and violence at the hands of in-laws and consistently inferior inheritance outcome, including significantly high rates of disposition than do the Muslim widows. And they have talked about the property and everything. But I'm going to throw you from one angle, because this is the angle I like to talk about. The Muslim is, everybody is entitled, worship your religion. We are not doing religion here. We're not converting anything, but we're doing a discussion. I have somehow I look at the Muslim, they are entitled to 4 wives. And I have come to realize that the Muslim widows, they are more marketable than the Christian widows. Because when this is a discussion that we are going to throw in as a full discussion. When you are talking about mental health, have you looked at the part of sex in mental health that is being denied of this woman? 22-year-old widow, 23, 24, and the church, we say Jesus is the husband of the widow. The church, we say holiness is key. And the church will counsel you, go and remarry. But with all my 50-something years of living, and for the past 30-something years, I have been responsible for my own religion, hearing the preaching myself, not my parents giving me. I have not heard about remarriage being preached from the pulpit. So I think that part of what this woman was putting in is that in terms of that mental wellness and sexual, whatever you call it, the Muslims seems to have a better understanding to the reality of it than we, the Christians. What do you say? Regina, over to you.
Whoa, that's quite very, very interesting. I think I tried to listen to what you ladies were saying. I must say it's quite robust and very enlightening. But let me come here. I'm not going to apologize. I'm not apologizing, but because of my faith and my belief, and to some degree, my responsibility in the church, I would talk in defense of the church highly first. Because there's a huge assumption that the church have been the one bullying the widow, and I don't think it's true. Now let me come to clearly, and when we define what the church and who the church is, we know is the people. And when we talk about the church, what does the church do? The responsibility of the church is to teach us not only morals, and that also beliefs, which all of us believe. I mean, anybody that says goes to church, she believes that Jesus died, Jesus resurrected, Jesus this. So if we're making comparison with church and Islam, we're not being fair, because our patterns and our beliefs are quite different. Now, I am privileged to I have some of my relatives that are Muslim, and I grew up within a Muslim, so to say, dominated society. So I know a lot of, to a high degree, what Islam is all about. Now, yes, I agree with you, Hope, when you said the Muslim widow is marketable, because it's not even encouraged in Islam in the first place for widowhood to last. It's not even given that chance. You are not even encouraged to stay long as a widow. And so that's the advantage. And then also, because they have there's this leeway that religion, the man can marry as many as 4. So the woman easily can move on to become the 4th wife, the 3rd wife, and to some degree, some people even break the law by having her as the 5th wife, and she's not complaining because the religion has given her that. But in Christianity, any woman that wants to say it is the Bible-based Christianity she wants to, which is what the Bible says that Paul said. You know that sometimes he said there are widows and there are widows indeed. He tried to describe who widows are. I'm trying to remember the scripture, who widows are, and he said the widow indeed are the ones that are actually, let me get my glasses so that I'll read that, so that our argument will
it's
be...
First Timothy 5. Regina, I'm glad you're going that way.
Timothy 5. Yes, I'm going there because I have to. Yes, I've gotten it. Yes, it's 1 Timothy 5. So Paul actually explained, he doesn't need even to tell us, but it's clear there that Paul is saying, look, that there are some widows that we can call widows because of their age. And we know that the tendency is that they can remain unmarried. But I have found out, and I've said it over and over, even on my program, there are women that by themselves have quarantined themselves, not the church. I started because I have met them.
Hold on, we are distracted. I'm going to hold you there.
Yeah.
Because you know why I'm going to hold you there? I'm going to make this discussion. Like you said, at the church, we are talking about our practice, the people, what we do. We are not talking about God. God is supreme and he owns us all.
Yeah.
I am a teacher. I have been a teacher for 32 years now, and I know the importance of education. Religion and education cannot be put apart. And the education, religion, and indoctrination cannot be put apart. I am going to tell you from a personal experience. If I know that my religious upbringing, it came from between my culture and my religious upbringing, made me to see myself unmarriable at 27 when my husband died. Forget about I had 4 children. I had 2 suitors. And I asked myself, who marries a widow? Because growing up as a child in the church, I was told that Jesus is the husband of the widow. And one of these days, I found this 1 Timothy 5. And I found, I think it's verse 12 also, when Paul said it, young widows should be encouraged to go and remarry, so that they will not commit sin. And I said to myself, how do you not encourage the widow to go and marry? Gozie, is it by calling her to cancel her? Will she marry herself? How is the when we were discussing about remarriage and public ties in WFM, and he made a statement that he met one young 26-year-old girl, they became widow 23, and became good, hard worker, pretty girl, and they started talking. And he talked about
Gozie, take over. She's muted.
Okay,
Gozie, take over.
I didn't hear the last part of what you said. What was the question?
It's like the church is not, they're not saying who are married, they're not encouraging the wife, but they are not encouraging them.
Okay, let me. Okay, I have a totally different opinion out of my experience working with widows. The church has no business with whether a widow, whatever happens with a widow remarrying. remarrying. Most times they don't, I've never heard it preached from the pulpit. They prefer that it's talked about behind closed doors during counseling. Let me tell you who is stopping the Igbo widow from remarrying. Igbo widow from Imo, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Abia is the culture, especially in my area of Anambra State, the culture that says that you return bride price. Oh Lord, help me to find a husband and let me see who will disturb me. That says you must return bride price. And now when these young widows, I've handled many of those cases, so I don't even need anybody to convince me. When they go to return this bride price, the family of the man will refuse to collect the money on the condition that they give them these children. The children they were not asking after, they were not caring about. When they give them these children, they share them amongst relatives. And these women, no woman will give out her children, will give away her children. So they will rather not go. That's number one. Number two, some of these people you see on Facebook that are telling you widow's might, widow's mental this, widow's hope, let their brother bring home any of us with Regina's beautiful voice. And she walks into their home. Hello, hello. Your voice sends me to sleep anyway. When they do, a man does that, they will drag him aside, or even before the woman, and say, of all the women in this land, you didn't see anybody. Is the widow. Do you know what killed her husband? The society and the culture, they are the ones stopping young widows from remarrying. I'm sure the churches would be happy to wed them, and they have the wedding. But the society, then the widows themselves, and some families of widows are terrible people. Some widows, no, I'm not talking about in-laws, because we keep looking at in-laws. Some families that widows come from, they won't support them. They won't want them to remarry. All they are thinking is their archaic mindset, stopping these widows. And listen to me, if you are young and widowed, and you want to remarry, you better know that you're on your own. If they refuse to take the bride price, go and drop it at the customary court, file a paper, drop it at the customary court, and remarry. We can't continue. Look at how pretty we look. We can't continue to roast. And if you need to remarry, tear down all the obstructions and remarry. But don't remarry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Can I be heard now?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, I'm going to take Gozie. Gozie, you made an absolute true point. But I'm still going to stand on where I am. Remember, the culture, the southern part of Nigeria have moved more to Christian culture because the African culture seems not to be in vogue on question. So whatever, nobody will convince me, just like you, that the church has a place to play, because education is not just going to school and learning how to read and write. There's the psychological part of human being has to. And these in-laws you're saying, I hold brief to. Remember the day I put this program, I put it, would you marry a widow? One widow that is 30-something year old, I think she was 32, said, God forbid, my son will not marry a widow. My son will marry chassis. And people try to attack her. And I said to them, no, nobody should attack this woman. It is what we have been indoctrinated. Because these people will not will attack you because that is what they have been indoctrinated. So I'm going to, Regina, I will come back to you before I go to me. I can't hear you. Okay, Bumi, if you can hear me, put your point with them. When Regina can,
I need to say something here. You see, I like the way Gozie actually said. You see, there's a big misinterpretation or misrepresentation of Christianity. Unfortunately, there is a lot of Christian practice based on culture, which I agree with you. Now, I'm telling you, if I should tell you that in the North, that even within the Cochin Church, I'm talking about the Church of Christ in Nations, which is the most popular within the northern sector, especially Plateau State, there is even a number of years that is given a widow that is young. If she's truly practicing within the church, they will tell her, you don't stay there for 5 years, you must get married, even if you have children. And so you see, when you talk about indoctrination, in this case, that other side, I think the North has dealt with it. Because I have cousins that have, or relatives and friends that have gotten married, even at 30 after they lost their husband, 40.
Yeah.
I've seen 2 weeks ago, one of my schoolmates got married. Yeah, they got married. So I think that the unfortunate thing is that now we are coming to an agreement that it is not more of Christianity, but that we are beginning to see culturalization of Christianity. We are beginning to see radicalization of Christianity. But the Bible.
Regina, I'm going to close you that because we have closed up. We will continue this discussion next week because we have not agreed. Because
Yes.
you have said it, there's a cultural in Christianity.
Yes, yes.
To me, you are going to end this thing because our time is up. Look at it from this angle. I'm going to ask this question. Do you think that if today, just because we agree the Southern culture now is more of a Christian culture, if we take that 1 Timothy 5:12, is it 12 or so, that say young widows should be encouraged to marry. The only way to encourage them is you start in the church, I'm a Sunday school teacher. You start from the Sunday school, don't teach them. I don't say don't talking about that because you don't want to scare anybody. But the same way you break, education is breaking into everybody's age. The same way we break the Bible, you say in the Bible it is said girls will grow up and they will eventually marry. When you get married, live happily with your husband, love your husband, and that every young girl and every person is entitled to marry, can marry. Start this education that at certain that we will not get inside our head and it becomes a practice, because practice over it is done over time. And you are going to end the discussion. So we'll continue it next week because we're out of time. Bumi.
Thank you so much. Oh, but I have a different opinion to what all of you are saying, based on my profession. Based on my profession, because I find that when I get into this profession, my perspective of things in life change. My orientation changes. Like Gozia said initially, the Bible is the word of God. It's a story. It's what happened. It's based on a culture. And the culture the Bible is based on is the Jewish culture, which is what they are still practicing today. That is why our own culture is entering into Christianity. Like Gozia said, that most of it is not even the church, because our culture we always enter into Christianity, just like the Jewish culture enter into Christianity. But based on my profession, this is what I can say to any widow. Nobody should tell you to go and marry because you are a Christian. Nobody should tell you are Jesus' wife because you are a Christian. Do what will make you happy. If what will make you happy is to get married, get married. If what will make you happy is to stay in your husband's house, stay in your husband's house. Don't listen to anybody telling you what to go and do. Even if they stand at the pulpit and they quote that Timothy, I will tell you about that Timothy. Don't quote a verse for me. Start from chapter 1, verse 1. When he said a true widow, he doesn't say 60-year-old. He explained who a true widow is. A true widow is somebody that is not having boyfriend, not doing anything. Then he went on to say that if you cannot stay alone as a true widow, go and remarry. They should encourage you to remarry. Don't quote a Bible verse for me. Quote it from the beginning. So a true widow is not somebody that is 60 years. As far as your husband died, you're a true widow once you don't have a man. But if you cannot stay, sex is important. I'm a professional. Sex is important for your mental health. If you want it. If you don't want it, it's not important. But as far as you want it you want it, go out and get it. Go and marry and get it.
We have had you. Sex is important for your mental health. If you want to, we are going to say goodbye to everybody, but we are going to start next week if you want to. I want to, Gozie. Regina, I want to. Bumi, you don't want to, I want to.
Hey, the network.
It's don't take it over.
I
Network
can't.
is bad. Take over.
If now the call working again and nobody needs to say bye-bye, Regina, bye-bye.
Bye.
Regina,
Bye.
Bye.
bye everyone. See you next week for another time.
Bye. See you next week. Bye.
All right.
So